Good morning, patriots and freedom-loving Americans. Welcome back to America Only. We're going to cover the three news stories today, each of them progressing in their level of craziness. And then as a topic of interest, I would like to respond to a comment left on one of my Instagram posts alleging that I was a racist. And I do want to get that straight because if you've watched this channel, you know that I've condemned racism on numerous occasions. So we'll get to that. And lastly, of course, it's Minecraft Monday. We are going to do our base Minecraft world and see where we get there. So the first news story, I don't think it's very crazy, although the left wants to act like it's the end of the world. Trump wants to build a triumphal arch in Washington, D.C. And it's to commemorate next year, July 4th, 2026, is our semi-quincentennial. I know I butchered that, but 250 years since the Declaration of Independence. It is a very important day, and it's important, I think, that we have national pride, and that will bring us together. And what shows our love for America more than building a triumphal arch like they have in Paris in Washington, D.C.? And you won't believe the excuses that the left has come up. We need to be spending more on affordability. No. Spending more on affordability makes things less affordable because you're putting money into circulation that creates inflation. So I don't know how that's how that's going to change anything. They also say it's going to block the sight line from the Washington to Lincoln Monument. There's going to be an arch there. It's going to make it cooler. So. No, this is a super important project. You might disagree with me. I think it's good to have these monuments that commemorate our history, show that we're proud to be Americans, not the left's version of this pussy of a nation that regrets slavery, even though 1% of our country only had slaves compared to a lot of other countries with a lot more slaves. I digress. Or how we brutally murdered a bunch of Native Americans, even though they were doing the same to each other and taking each other's land. So I don't know how that's a complaint exactly against us, but this country has had a remarkable track record, the best system ever. We've had our failures, like every country has, but we have risen above them every time, and we continue to do so. And it is something to be proud of, that we are still the freest nation on earth. So I do think that this idea of building a triumphal arch is wonderful. It will show people that we are still proud to be a great country. And we're not a bunch of self-hating lunatics like the people are in the UK. Anyway, we'll go to our second story. There was a shooting at Brown University, and it was tragic. On Saturday, at around 4:05 p.m., a gunman, we don't know who it is yet, there was a 24-year-old man from Wisconsin that was taken in as a possible suspect, but they figured out that he wasn't the one. But a gunman opened fire during an economics exam, and two students were killed, two amazing students, from what we know. Ella Cook, 19-year-old sophomore vice president of the Brown College Republicans, and Mohammad Aziz Umakurzevkov, a 18-year-old freshman, originally from Uzbekistan and aspiring to become a neurosurgeon. So we lost two amazing people, it seems like, and 9 additional people were wounded. This is horrific. It shouldn't happen in our country. I'm ready to hear the onslaught from the left complaining that we need to restrict and get rid of guns. The same argument comes up after every mass shooting or assassination, as it did after Charlie Kirk. I had a lengthy debate with a liberal socialist friend of mine after the death of Charlie Kirk. His idea was that we should ban certain kinds of weapons, and he never finished the debate, actually. I invited him to come on the show, but he said no. But this is a horrible thing that should happen. And banning guns, we don't know the weapon of choice, so I'm not going to say it was an assault rifle. I don't know. That will come out. But banning guns, just like banning anything that is integral to daily life, like alcohol, which we tried in the 1920s up to 1933, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because the good people are willing to follow the law, but we still have lots of people flying under the radar. I know lots of drugs are very, very illegal. Even marijuana is illegal in some states, but it always turns out that the ones that aren't good citizens are using it. Same with all other drugs. There's a bunch of drug trade going on in the U.S. It's funny that the left wants to get tough on drugs and gun violence when they let 8 million illegals from one of the most crime-ridden places on earth come into the United States. So that's a little weird to me. But even if we did block, all people from getting assault rifles or even lower-level weapons, a lot of people are saying, again, only the bad guys would have them. They always find a way to get them. There's a black market. There's illegal trading going on. It's nonstop. And this country was so built on guns. That's part of our Second Amendment. Both state governments and the federal government are not allowed to restrict anybody's right to bear any type of firearm. It's in our Constitution. People have firearms. The reason Emperor Hirohito of Japan didn't want to invade the U.S. is because he said there's a gun behind every blade of grass. The guns confiscation is not going to go very quickly, and if it does happen, and there's going to be lots of people that fly under the radar, and I'm assuming, some of them are going to be good freedom-loving Americans that care about the Constitution, but on the other side, there's going to be lots of criminals who the system just happened to miss, and they're going to be the ones, and we're going to be helpless. And these school shootings, a reason that a school shooter would choose a school to shoot up is because he knows there's going to be innocent victims that are helpless, and they're going to be in their chairs in an enclosed classroom trying to learn, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. This is what I think should happen, and you might disagree with me, but that's fine. This is a free country. So let's do a little. Let's pretend this happened at Brown University. I think this would be a lot better, personally. Teachers teaching the class, gunman comes in. Says, "Oh, you guys are all about to get shot." A teacher pulls out an AR-15 from under the desk. Boom, 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 boom. Falls to the ground. Says, "Class, gather round." Takes it, points it at him, shoots him another, 50, 55 times. Boom, 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 boom. So you can barely see his face anymore. And then all the kids, or their college students, get together, get out their phones, take pictures of it, and post it to social media, and they say, next one of you that wants to be a school shooter, this will be you. He's not. I want him to be unrecognizable. You don't. People don't have a right to know your name if you're going to pull shit like that. You should be forgotten. The only thing people should remember about you is your bloody, dismembered, and unrecognizable face after the teacher stops you from committing this horrific act. I'm sure a lot of school shooters would think twice about doing what they're doing if teachers were armed with AR-15s. That would stop the issue. You didn't see the more the American society has been disarmed and has stopped having guns. I mean, everybody used to have a gun. At some point, revolutionary times. The more school shootings that we've had. Because the bad guys realize it's a field day, and that that normal civilians aren't going to be armed in everyday society, and they take that chance. They take their shot. It's common sense that if good guys have guns, the bad guys will be stopped. And Anyway, we'll move on to the next story, which is pretty crazy, and. Before we go, though, I want everybody to pray for the families of the victims of this horrific shooting, and pray that this doesn't happen again, and also, pray for the people that had to witness it. And that's the worst thing about these shootings, is that people are going to be traumatized with this, and it's gonna affect them for life. But this third story is really strange. There's a fella named Rob Reiner. He was an actor on a show that I used to like. It was called All in the Family. It was an old show from the 70s. It was like this old racist white guy. And I now know, they're making fun of conservatives, but their daughter and his hippie dropout type husband is living with them, who's like totally, liberal, atheist, socialist, named Meathead. Rob Reiner was a good actor, and he's in numerous movies that he was a director. He and his wife were found dead in their LA home, and they were stabbed to death, it seems. And their son, Nick Reiner, has just been brought into custody without bail. The police have determined that he was, in fact, the one that stabbed them to death. It's really sad. Rob Reiner and his son had directed a movie together. Nick Reiner, the son, had struggled with addiction and mental health issues, and it was basically about a recovering addict and the father-son dynamic between that, and the father wishing that he'd paid more attention to his son and apologizing for his past crimes, and just showing unconditional love. And what's interesting is, in an interview for that movie, I think it came out in 2015 or 2016, the dad talks about how all these psychologists that they went to said that Nick Reiner was crazy and manipulative and a bad person. And Rob Reiner says, we realized that we weren't listening to our son, and that he is being honest, and we were listening to these psychologists instead. And now that's really crazy to think about it. It seems like he was the one that was being manipulative. He was an evil person. Just a horrible thing. I mean, son killing their parents. He kind of has a crazy look in his eye. Look up a picture of him. But that's something that, you'd never expect to happen. I think he must have been on drugs again or relapsed. They were at a Christmas party a few days ago, and a lot of people said that he was acting strangely, and he got into this big confrontation with his parents. But I'll keep you posted as updates go in. I think one of the really bad parts of this that we on the right have to reckon with is Trump's response to this, which I think was vile. Let me pull it up exactly what he said. Give me 1 second. And Trump thinks he can get away with saying anything he wants, and some of it is really funny, but this is just bullshit, and everyone on the right should call him out. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. And, the liberals, obviously, and for good reason, are saying this is really disrespectful and wrong and unhinged. I think the dumbest part of it is that he says that the reason he was killed was because of the anger he caused others through his Trump derangement syndrome. So he's suggesting that someone on the right killed Rob Reiner. So he's saying it's our side's fault and we killed him because he hated Trump. I mean, this is the most fucking idiotic post I've ever seen from Trump. I mean, was he on drugs when he wrote this? Like, what is this? You don't disrespect anybody that's murdered, no matter their political beliefs, but this is just stupid. Suggests that it was a Trump supporter when it clearly isn't. There's no political motives talked about, so Yeah, Republicans rightfully called it out. Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Mike Johnson, the speaker. Trump's starting to lose the plot here. He does a good thing, and then he does like 4 bad things, and then he does another good thing. Most presidents obviously do like 72,000 bad things and 1 good thing, maybe. But still, Trump, you were the chosen one. We believed in you. And now you're falling off the path. You're still doing good things, but there's been horrible things. Spending money on Israel, Ukraine, the Epstein files. Inflation continues to go up. You didn't get rid of the Federal Reserve. And then you say stupid things like this, which no one appreciates. But I think Trump needs to get this idea. He is not God. He is not all-powerful. And he needs to be checked sometimes. And that's a good thing. Every president needs to be checked. And I encourage Republicans to call this out, because this was wrong. But anyway, that's the news. And I want to respond, and this will be our topic of interest today, to an allegation that I was racist. Some guy said to me on Instagram, he said, "Congratulations, you only get 6 likes per post." I've only been around for 2 weeks, so. But he said, "Your God is brown and from the Middle East." And I said, "Your point is," and he just gave me some bullshit. You know, he doesn't really have a point. You can check. It's on my last reel. But yeah, my God is brown. Jesus was a Jew from the Middle East. I don't have a problem with that. I don't care about skin color. Let's look up the definition of racism. This is from Oxford. Prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group. And it says typically one that is minority or marginalized. That's typically, though. But the definition stands: I do not have prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism against any people based on their racial group. That doesn't make sense. We're all created in the image of God. That's a biblical concept. I think what he's alluding to is racism isn't. And I do have this idea that the U.S. should be primarily composed of people that built this country, the people from the European nations that came over here. But that's not because of race. It's actually about culture. The culture in Iraq, the culture in Africa is very different from the culture that built the United States, Western European Christian culture. And that's not a racial thing at all. It has to do with assimilation and being able to assimilate to our ideas as a country and our traditions. And when you don't have a country that has national cohesion, that can come together, celebrate Christmas Day on the 25th, eat the foods we eat, know the songs we know, celebrate the heroes that we celebrate, you don't really have a country. And that's not to say that I don't want to let anyone in. I believe in letting the best of the best, people that are going to make our country greater, in at every turn. I think that is a good thing, even if they do come from different cultural backgrounds. But we have to create a country where the majority of the people in the United States come together around something. And that keeps people together. House divided against itself cannot stand. It's in the Bible. This doesn't have to do with race. If someone from South Africa came over here and was Christian, believed in all our holidays, loved our food, came together, read about our heroes, worshipped our God, of course, I don't have a problem based on race. Are you kidding? It's skin color. It doesn't mean anything to me. The thing is, that doesn't happen, though, usually. There are exceptions, of course. Most people, when they come from other countries, take the culture that they grew up with, and that makes sense. I mean, it's part of them, to the United States and live their culture. But the U.S. is something different, and we have to keep that. And I would never advocate, Americans pouring into Mexico and bringing their culture with them and changing it. Mexico wouldn't like that. I want them to keep their culture. I want them to keep their language. I want them to keep their identity. That's the opposite of racism. I love those people. I love those people. And I love their cultures and traditions. And I think that they should come together and celebrate those things. That's what makes Mexico so interesting. We go on trips to Mexico to immerse ourselves in their culture. So, yeah, I mean, I think people go to the U.S. for the same thing. And a country, it just has to have a tradition to come around on. And that's not racial. It's not racial at all. Any immigration policies I suggest are completely based on culture, not based on race. And I want to make that clear. I think actual racism and racial hatred is really stupid. It doesn't make sense. I love people of all. I love Jews. I love Muslims. I love Mexicans. I think it's wonderful the things that they've created in their countries. I hope to go to Mexico again. I've been one time. The food is really growing on me. The cities, the dances, the music, the mariachi music. It's cool. It's really cool. And I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want people from a bunch of different countries pouring in and taking that away from Mexico's cultural identity. And it wouldn't be because I don't want different races in there. If the races came in there and continued preserving the culture, that's fine. I just care about culture. I care about heritage. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And it's something to be proud of. So yeah, I just want to clarify that. I'm not a racist at all. I'm a Christian. Racism is wrong. And I am just a culturalist. I believe in culture. And that will conclude our segment for today, and we will go on to Minecraft Monday.